Names like Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Benito Mussolini immediately come to mind when discussing the most terrible leaders throughout history. It is crucial, however, to keep in mind that despicable behavior on the part of rulers existed even before the 1930s. Hello and welcome back to our channel, The Juicy Truth. If you've got a thirst for knowledge that never quits, subscribe to our channel for more informative videos. Others may seem like no-brainers, such as Attila the Hun or the Chinese Empress Wu. After further investigation into the results of their rule and how they were seen by their subjects, it becomes obvious that they are not the worst rulers in history. Attila, for example, was reviled by Roman-centric historians for being a non-Roman, while Wu was dismissed by male historians for being a woman. In light of this, we should shift our attention to the despots who were the cruelest rulers in history, many of whom are less well known. Nevertheless, there are bound to be a few names on this list that ring a bell, including a number of them whose cinematic depictions have only further cemented their place in the cultural consciousness. Number 5. Tamerlane the Great. Tamerlane the Great, commonly known as Timur, was a Turkic conqueror whose reign lasted for around 40 years, from 1396 to 1405 CE. He considered himself a direct descendant of Genghis Khan and set out to create an empire like the one Khan had built, which eventually reached from Russia to India and the Mediterranean. As per Tamerlane, no mercy was an absolute. He destroyed entire cities, killing in the tens of thousands. He allegedly killed 70,000 people in Isfahan, 20,000 people in Aleppo, and 70,000 people in Tikrit. He dispatched spies into enemy territory to spread fear by spreading tales of his victories, such as when he burned down a mosque full of worshippers in Damascus. It is said that he beheaded 90,000 individuals in Baghdad and used their decomposing skulls to construct more than 100 skyscrapers. Lastly, it's worth noting that some historians think Tamerlane was wickedly knowledgeable, often skinning alive those who refused to convert to Islam. Number 4. Leopold II. Belgian King Leopold established the Congo Free State in the heart of Africa in the mid to late 19th century to protect the population from Arab slavers and to foster the development of the Christian faith. Decades of brutality, including forced labor and beatings, were inflicted on the local population. Although Joseph Conrad wrote of the horrors of the ivory trade in his novella Heart of Darkness, inspired by his stay in the Congo, Leopold initially permitted it in his own colony. As the need for rubber increased due to the introduction of automobiles and bicycles, Leopold realized that his small patch of land was teeming with wild rubber trees. The invaders pleased the local people by having them kidnapped to labor in the bush. The colonizers raped native women brutally and would sometimes sever the hands of living slaves as evidence that they weren't wasting ammo on animals or shooting errant bullets. For nearly a century, the crimes committed by Leopold's vicious avarice were mostly forgotten by the Western world. Historians did not begin to recognize that colonists slaughtered up to 10 million Congolese until the turn of the 21st century. Number 3. Pol Pot. During the 1960s and 1970s, imperialist U.S. forces in Vietnam incited Pol Pot and his fellow French-educated Cambodian natives to obliterate all traces of capitalism in Cambodia and replace it with a strictly agrarian communist state. If the U.S. hadn't bombed Cambodia so brutally during the Vietnam War, the country's citizens might not have found the movement so enticing. However, after gaining power in 1975, the Khmer Rouge Party wasted no time in implementing its policies. More than 2 million Cambodians were forced to flee the city for a better life in the countryside. Because Pol Pot believed that urbanites and educated people would not contribute much to the new dictatorship, he set out to create a class of peasants instead. The words "to maintain you is no advantage, to destroy you is no loss" were pronounced as a verdict to numerous members of this new class. Between 1975 and 1979, over 1.5 million people died as a result of Pol Pot's regime's murders of capitalist elites and widespread starvation, disease, and overwork of the newly formed peasant class. Only 7 people are known to have survived a prison camp that held about 20,000 people. The Vietnamese army overthrew the Khmer Rouge government in 1979, but Pol Pot continued to lead a series of guerrilla strikes across the region until his death in 1998. Number 2. Maximilian Robespierre. Maximilian Robespierre is one of history's most contentious individuals. He did, however, speak out against racial and religious discrimination and advocate for universal suffrage. On the other hand, he was the most powerful individual during the French Revolution's reign of terror, overseeing the imprisonment of an estimated 300,000 people and the murder of up to 40,000. He was a fervent Jacobin during the start of the French Revolution, and he was elected to command the Committee of Public Safety in 1793. His ferocious nationalism silenced any detractors of the fledgling country with a smack to the head from then on. His burgeoning ego drove him to use the guillotine liberally, even on previous supporters such as George Danton, who had advocated for curbing the Reign of Terror. Robespierre's attempt to impose a national religion based on the adoration of a supreme being contradicted his previous beliefs and further alienated the populace from him. In 1794, during one of the revolution's numerous power transfers, he was overthrown and subsequently murdered by guillotine. Number 1. Tala Pasha. An entirely new political group, the Young Turks, emerged within the Ottoman administration in the second decade of the 20th century. The Young Turks, led by Pasha, gradually drained power from the Sultan while he remained technically head of state. When World War I broke out, Armenians living under Ottoman rule saw a chance for independence if the Russians won because the Young Turks had backed Germany and Austria. As a result, many of them made their way to eastern Anatolia to join the Russian army. Because Pasha could not tolerate such flagrant disobedience, he ordered the removal of over 1 million Armenians from Anatolia, Constantinople, and other regions to safe havens in Syria and Mesopotamia. This led to rampant cruelty. Death tolls among the deported Armenians have been estimated at 1.5 million. To speed things up, people who walked too slowly were murdered, and in at least one case, a pregnant lady was made to give birth while riding a horse. After the Ottomans were defeated by the Allies, Pasha resigned and fled with other Young Turks. In 1921, an Armenian assassin shot and killed him. That's it for today, guys. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We will see you in the next video. Till then, take care.